Good afternoon, everybody joining us. Welcome back to the Servers at Home live stream every single Friday. At least that's what we hope for. I'm Evan. I'm Servers at Home. I'm here with my co-host John, also known as Scarlett on Discord. How you doing today, John?
I'm good. Hey, everyone.
How's everybody doing? So today we're going to do the same thing we do every single week. We are going to be going over the Self-Host Weekly, and today is July 25th, 2025, as you can see on the screen. If there's any issues with the audio or anything like that this week, please let me know. Keep an eye in the chat. We've made some improvements so that hopefully we didn't have the issues that we had last week. So if anyone hears anything funny, just jump on and let us know. But today we're going to start by looking at the weekly highlights here. And this is kind of a funny paragraph. He said, this is Ethan talking. I spent more time than I care to admit. Not sure why we do this. And I think like TrueNAS kind of suffers this way, the same thing too. Like I know we're on Fangtooth right now. I know the next one is going to be a G. It kind of reminds me of the way like Ubuntu works, where like they pick a letter in the alphabet and it's like a different like animal. And the Ubuntu used like Toy Story for a while. But yeah, so that's kind of like, that's an interesting way to name things. I am a huge fan of version numbers. I don't always remember the names. Like the next version of TrueNAS is going to be called Goldeye because that's like the next fish that they're picking that starts with G. I don't know why companies do this. John, do you get like the naming scheme thing? Are you into like the big like picking names for things?
Yeah, that's better than numbers. It's easier to remember. And when you're just blurting out 22.5552, that's just not really that's not really something that's memorable. What does 22.5 mean? What does anything like that mean? I like Home Assistant's versioning. It's 25.7 right now for our 2025 on the 7th month.
Oh, that's
And that's
good.
what I like.
Yeah.
It's a concise naming scheme, so I know exactly what month. So they don't really have naming schemes for what the update is exactly, like Goldeye, but
That's interesting. See, I'm such a nerd, man. Like I like the numbers. Like, and Ubuntu does an interesting thing though too. Like the way that Ubuntu does its release, and now the way TrueNAS does its release. Like for example, this is 25.04. So looking at that number scheme, 25 is the year and 4 is the month. So that was the April of 25 release. So the one that comes out next, Goldeye, which is 25.10, will be in October of 2025. So like that's kind of, again, same thing. It's a common sense numbering scheme where it's year month. So like I don't have to worry about that. And it's also easier for me because if I say, not everybody knows like, hey, they go in this order of like letters of progressing letters of the alphabet. So it goes from Fangtooth to Goldeye and it went from Electric Eel. Some people might not realize that, hey, like electric, like I have the same problem with Debian. It went from like Buster to Bullseye. I always forget which one of those is more recent because like you name them both with a B and there's no, like if you don't know one's Debian 11 and Debian 12, like you never know that. Like it drives me crazy. So I'm with Ethan here. I'm like, man, some of these names are weird. Some of these names are weird. It's very interesting. But yeah, I'm a nerd though. I like the numbers. It's easy to tell for me because if someone says, oh, I'm on version like 25.04 and I'm like, well, I'm on 25.10, I know immediately I'm on a newer version of something than the other person. So I think that helps me. I'm one of those people. This is an interesting example he gives here, like the sloth naming. This is hilarious. But I'm not a huge fan of that. In real news, Maybe. I didn't even get the chance to talk to you guys about Maybe. Maybe was one of the finance managers that we were getting ready to do a video on for the channel. And it turns out that, I'll give you a quick background on Maybe. Maybe started out as a B2B kind of thing that was supposed to serve a very special way of like doing finance for like businesses trying to track like corporate finances. And then they said, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're actually going to democratize this. And we're going to make this for people. And here's like this really cool like screen of it. I like it a lot. I actually was a big fan of Maybe. I had it deployed on my system. I was playing with it. I was getting ready to do a video once it kind of stabilized a little bit more and some of the features were more there. And then they just made the announcement this week that, hey, we're actually going back to B2B. So they started B2B. They decided to then say, hey, we're going to open source the software. Here's the code. Here's like Docker containers, etc. And then just this week, they released something on their Discord channel. Said, no, we're going back to B2B. And Ethan covers that here. Basically, finance is hard. They're out of money. So that was really interesting. And John, I know you don't use any of these finance managers, but of course Ethan links on Self-Host to all the other options out here. So I'm going to sort this by stars. if you're in the chat and you use a budget manager, I want to hear from you, because I was using Maybe for a while. I'm actually paying for Rocket Money right now, and I like it. It's one of the things I'm really happy. Like John says all the time, I'm happy to pay for things like this because it helps development. I'm happy to pay for Rocket Money. I love what it is. It's free, but it also offers a paid version. I pay for the paid version. It's nothing. It's $6 a month. Totally worth it. For everybody out there who's probably doing budgeting out, you're most likely using either Actual or Firefly. 20,000 stars on GitHub a piece for these projects. So these are like the heavyweights. The next highest ranked one is Split, which I'm not even that familiar with, and it's got 2,000 stars. So it's 1/10 the size of either of these two. If you're using Actual, if you're using Firefly, I kind of want to hear from you in the chat. Please let me know. I'm not a huge fan of these, and I'll tell you guys, well, not because they're not great budgeting software. Here's my issue. I've got some credit cards. My wife's got some credit cards. I've got some bank accounts. She's got some bank accounts. If the reason I like Rocket is because it uses Plaid, and Plaid is this middleman technology that allows the finance app to talk to the banks and do like these auto updates to see what my current balance is and what my current spending is. So it's a very necessary piece of mesh technology, because without that, like the budgeter, for example, like Actual, only knows what you upload to it. So if you don't actually make like normal uploads of like CSV documents, like your money just stays static. And for me, like I don't want to upload 10 different CSV files from all the bank accounts and all the credit cards every single month just to see the spending. I'd rather just get, for example, something that does that automatically. And in my case, that's Rocket Money. But that's my biggest complaint with a lot of these now. I know someone in the chat's gonna be like, oh, you don't really need that. Some of these, there's other middlemen besides Plaid, and you can get Plaid on your own. You can pay for it if you want to go ahead and ask them to use their API, because that's basically what it is. You're basically, Plaid gives the API and charges, in my case, Rocket Money for it. So Rocket Money pays for all the API calls from its users, but you can pay Plaid directly for API calls and pay like $2 a month or more or less. So that's the big challenge, is like, hey, how do you get any of these to sync to your bank accounts automatically without doing CSV uploads? And that's the kind of thing that holds me back from self-hosting this. The challenge, of course, is if I'm not self-hosting it, it's not private. So for everybody out there, it's like, oh man, data privacy. Yeah, I know. Like, I can't avoid Plaid. I mean, I can do CSV uploads, but it's not fun. Like, that's not, in my opinion, that's not sustainable. So that's kind of like where I'm at with this, because was getting really close to being what could have gotten me off of Rocket Money. And it was really cool too, because it did like OpenAI integration, so you can talk to ChatGPT directly in Maybe, and it would actually analyze your budget for you. So it's like there's a lot of really cool features like that, and it just went totally back to B2B. So I was kind of disappointed. But if you're using any of these softwares, please let me know, man. I just want to know what people out there are kind of into. If for those people who are doing their own self-hosted 100% private budgets, like if that's you, totally let me know about it. I'm just curious to see if that's something that's like a big deal in this community, because for me, I don't do it, but maybe I'm like maybe I'm in the minority. Maybe I'm in the minority. So I'm just curious. I'm curious to hear from you guys. John and I were just talking about Jack Dorsey. We were talking a few weeks ago about his little thing called BitChat. BitChat was what was kind of getting me excited, because it's this really interesting infrastructure-less messaging platform, and everybody immediately was like, oh man, this totally sounds like a bad idea, because basically the message hops from like my phone to your phone and like all the way down the line until it reaches this person, and then everybody's like, that sounds like a really bad idea. And John immediately was like, oh, by the way, that got hacked already. John, what were you reading earlier today you were talking about that?
I heard it on the WAN show, and so I looked into it, and there is there's a flaw in it for kind of impersonating that you are the person, since it's going to your phone. That's kind of how I understand it. So since it's going from Bluetooth for a Bluetooth connection, so it's going from device to device to device. And so as far as I understand, you can impersonate that person. I'll go ahead and I'll link the article in the chat so you guys can take a look at it for yourself. But this was pretty interesting, that already within a few weeks, it's already having an issue like this.
Yeah, that
Which it's going to. but it's a huge struggle that they're going to have to go through to make sure that that is secure, and they're going to have to go through a lot of patches I can see in their future.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I'm definitely kind of curious to see how that's going to play out because I like the idea of it. And like, so Jack right now, he just pumped $10 million into this nonprofit talking about open source social media. There is open source social media on like the dark web if you want to do like Galaxy or Galaxy 2 or something like that for anyone who's familiar with those kind of things. But he's got this thing called Noster, and it's basically like the idea is, and what he talks about in this article, just summarizing, I'm not going to read this whole article. You guys can come in here and jump in and read it. It's just basically talking about the fact that like Twitter was made to be a protocol when he was there in the beginning, and it turned into this very political, very corporate thing, and that was never the idea because as soon as you inject money and corporation into protocol, that's where you get this weird clash. So he's like, I don't like that. I want it to go back towards being more open source where like nobody owns it, like being decentralized, for example, which is kind of like Mastodon or like the Fediverse where it's not really owned or run by anybody. So you don't get an Elon Musk situation where somebody buys up something and totally injects their own ideology into it. So that's kind of like what he's leaning towards. He's like, I don't want that to even be possible. So that's why they're really kind of leading into him putting a lot of money into the idea and this and other stuff team that he's built to do all kinds of things. Like there's an app called Shakespeare, which is like lovable. It's like social apps with AI assistance. Hey Now, a voice note app, Cashew Wallet, a private messenger, White Noise, the social community. He's got a bunch of stuff on here, but I'm interested to see this. This is the guy who invented Twitter, which is like, in some people's opinion, like the worst thing that ever happened to humanity in terms of social media. And now he's like, oh yeah, no, I totally want to undo this. I'm going to spend tens of millions of dollars trying to get away from kind of the things I have held built before. So that's really fascinating to me. John, they were asking, what's your take on like social media and Twitter? Like, how do you feel about it as a person?
Yeah, it's a good thing because it can help keep us connected, but it's in little spurts. A lot of people have a lot of different opinions, and it's hard. And yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, it's challenging. My wife is big into social media. She kind of has to be in her job. Servers at home just got into it. We have a servers at home, like Instagram and Twitter account and a LinkedIn account now. I don't use them a ton. It's basically just to do announcements for the stuff that we're doing on YouTube and sometimes some other things that just kind of come across my radar. But social media is definitely very tough. I remember, I mean, we're young, John. Like are you even 30 yet, John? Or are you still in your 20s?
I am 25.
Good God, people. So I'm almost 40. So John and I definitely come from basically different generations at this point. So I remember like early on, one of my first ever like major phones was the iPhone 3G. That was the first time I got an actual smartphone. That was in like 2008. So like this is before the iPhone even had apps. So back then there wasn't even really serious Facebook was the only serious social media on the block, and it wasn't totally like crapified yet. So it was still okay, but dude, nowadays, man, like there's just it gets pretty vicious out there. I'm kind of blown away. But that's why I'm interested in seeing things like this, man, because I'm like, man, social media has definitely gone in some ways off the rails. Like there's definitely some platforms out there that are very, very like echo chambery, very, very kind of like extremist kind of thing. And I'm like, that's what kind of scares me a little bit. I saw this too. This is the Great Unracking. Has anybody here know or has ever heard of Stack Exchange? Stack Exchange is pretty famous. Stack Exchange, if you don't know anything about this, if you write code pretty commonly, you're gonna end up on Stack Exchange before like AI was out there. And this is like basically like the Reddit or like where everybody would post their issues with their code. Like, hey, can somebody help me? Can somebody like debug this for me or look at this code and see what's going on? Stack Exchange was very, very narrowly focused for that specific need. So they used to do everything on-prem and they just moved to the cloud. So I saw this article, and this is kind of like a farewell to like a very, very serious part of the internet, because Stack Exchange is not just Stack Exchange. They've got a few sites that are very famous that used to run out of this New Jersey data center. I wanted to show you guys this because I wanted to show you guys some serious equipment. Like Stack Exchange, you're talking about tens of thousands of hits like per minute probably. So they shut everything down. They went to the cloud. They went to Google Cloud, by the way. They didn't go to AWS. They have some stuff on Stack Overflow for Teams. Oh, so this is so Stack Overflow for Teams was another one of the sites that they have, and that's to Azure. They did that in 2023, and now they've moved everything else this year to Google Cloud, and they're going to be out by the end of this month. Check out some of this equipment. This is this is what it looked like when everything was up here. See the PDUs at the right, and look at all these arms, all this cabling. It's pretty intense. So like these servers were powering a really serious corner of the internet. They say here there used to be 8 cables per machine by 50 machines. So over 400 cables they had to decable and then had to unrack every single one of these from their 48 Utah racks. So you can see here, this is the way they did it. They had their gigabit for their access to IPMI. They had their KVMs, 210, and then 4 10 gigabit internets to each one of these things plus power. So I mean, look at some of these behemoths. This is kind of like what John's server looks like at home. He's got quite a lot of power going on in his basement. Look at these switches. Just so much stuff. This is the pile of cables they had when they were done. I'm like, you guys want to talk about a serious like piece of work? Look at this. I don't know who's gonna get all this equipment, but like in terms of like guys in the home lab, like keep an eye on r/homelab sales if you're in the New Jersey, New York area, because this might, I don't know where this is all gonna go, but this is a lot of hardware. These are massive racks, these 48Us. This is what it looked like when they built it for the first time. So this isn't the decommissioning. This was an old picture. This is the before picture from 2015 when they built it. I was like, man, like that kind of makes me salivate a little bit, but I'm also like, oh my God, what would I even do? John, what would you do with even like one of these servers? Like all this power that they're de-racking right now. Look at all this.
I couldn't. I wouldn't because it draws so much power. That's just my main thing, honestly. I use a lot of power already, but it's just drives. I don't need like raw processing power, but it would basically just be me turning it into like a game server or just using it for AI, just models. I mean, that's basically all I can think of
Yeah.
to use it for. I don't have anything that would really use anything like that or do anything like that.
Yeah, this is a serious amount of gear right here. So I've been, a buddy of mine works for AWS, and if you don't know anything about AWS, they purposely go out and get like not all their servers are like this, but some of their mainline servers are just like, not their mainlines, but their secondary servers and tertiary servers are like the cheapest pieces of garbage they can get because they just decommission them so often because there's just so many. So I've gotten through my buddy who works for AWS a couple decommissioned AWS servers, and let me tell you, John, like the same instance, same problem. I ran them for a few days, and not only are they so loud and so hot, they just draw so much electricity. I'm like, I don't even want this. I ended up reselling it on like HomeLab sales or something like that, or giving it away, or in some case just recycling them because they're so old at that point that they finally made it to my hands. But I am an unabashed fan of like decommissioned desktop hardware, like recommissioning gaming PCs and stuff like that. That's kind of my bread and butter. This kind of power, I'm like, this is excessive for somebody's house. Not saying you might actually have a use case for it if you're out there listening to me, and I'm no hate on you, but like I would want to know and tell me if you're in the chat, like if you're running anything that approximates this gear, like what are you doing with? I'm curious to see what you guys are running that requires that kind of power to the point where we need to be talking about like getting every single U we can out of this rack. That's quite. So I just wanted to show you guys those pictures of like, this is actually pretty incredible. Not everybody gets to see inside of like a pretty legit like data operation for a majorly famous part of the internet. Stack Overflow, for guys who do this for a living, is very famous. So like that was interesting. John, how do you feel about this when you see people like going from a physical data center to the cloud? Is that something you're like championing, or is that like kind of moving backwards?
It's scary because now not the company itself is in control of my data, but just one service provider under their specific rules has control of potentially my data that they're storing somewhere. So it's kind of going away from what I thought everyone would go to with the AI boom. I thought quite literally this would bring data centers more into local areas rather than, or like your local business rather than away. And so I prefer people. I understand it's a huge cost up front, but having control of your data and control of all your stuff, making sure it's in house, and hiring someone to maintain all of that, in my opinion, is just better. It's a cost, but it's better than giving all that stuff, all that infrastructure to someone else and just paying that subscription cost.
Mm. Yeah, the subscription gets, and that's, I don't think people realize that when I talk to clients, I do a little bit of consulting on the side besides my regular 9 to 5 IT. And when I do consulting like that and people tell me they want to move to the cloud, my first question is why? If you're a major data center like this, the big complaint from Stack Overflow is, hey, we have to have somebody physically drive in here and maintain this equipment, because if you look at this picture, like, look at it. This is a lot of stuff. Like, this has to be physically maintained, this infrastructure. For most regular like people who aren't running a major corner of the internet, you probably don't need 48U racks and like 6 or 8 of them, whatever these guys had. The amount of money that AWS or anybody, DigitalOcean, is going to charge you over time in subscription fees, like, if I like, the amount of power you can buy in off-the-shelf desktop components to run whatever it is you're running is going to far outpace whatever you're getting. Like, I don't think people realize, for example, if you guys aren't on AWS, I have to work with AWS for a living. Like, take your phone, for example, like your common iPhone. If you were to virtualize your iPhone, like if I wanted as much power as is in my iPhone in the cloud, it would be hundreds of dollars per month. Like, that's, you don't realize that, like thousands of dollars a year, just if I wanted an AWS EC2 instance that's as powerful as my iPhone, like thousands a year. That's why it's people, I don't think people realize that, like, just to get the power that's in your pocket into AWS is prohibitively expensive. So it's, to me, it seems like this huge trade-off for not a whole lot of payoff, to be honest. Like, especially with mini PCs these days, mini PCs are so powerful. Like, dude, they're like $300 or $400. All you need to do is find a way to get people on the internet to get back to that, like either through a Cloudflare tunnel or through something like that, and like, boom, like, you're good. But anyway, that's my 2 cents on that. I'm definitely an anti-cloud person in that way. Not saying I do it for a living, so of course I love the cloud in certain aspects, but for like 99% of people, if you're not a corporate client, there's no reason to put everything in the cloud. Now, John's point is exactly right. Like, I'm giving somebody else control over my data and my own access to my own data. To me, that's going backwards. That's going backwards. Somebody published this article, codecapture.com, my ultimate self-hosting setup. I love reading these. I want to know if you guys out there read a whole lot about other people's self-hosting. I try to a little bit. It's hard because obviously we're putting out so much content right now. I'm so focused on what we have upcoming. I don't always stop to look around and see what other people have. I thought this is a really cool thing that this guy put out here, pretty much just saying, hey, this is my journey. This are my requirements. This is kind of what I want to do. Again, I want to fully own the core components. I think a lot of people are the kind of this mindset where owning is important to them. So their general approach here, they talk about what they use. I thought it was interesting because this guy uses TrueNAS, right? So this guy's home lab, just to kind of pick on things a little bit. I'm going to talk about the Jay's 2 cents video here in a sec, actually, too, because it just reminded me of that. So this guy uses a pretty standard setup that I think a lot of people on our Discord server, John, are using. They're using TrueNAS as their main OS. They're using Tailscale to get in. He's got Althalia and LDAP kind of in front of it, but it's basically just TrueNAS running 2 VMs, a NixOS VM, and he's got like another one for like gaming, I think, or something like that. But Home Assistant. He's got Home Assistant OS on it. And he's got another server that he calls Coruscant. So I thought about that and I was like, man, this is a pretty straightforward setup that I feel like a lot of people have, where they have TrueNAS, they have maybe a VM or two, they're using Tailscale, and they're just doing that. Like, that's pretty much how they're doing it. I thought it was a pretty straightforward. I thought it was just a really cool article. I want to know whether or not you guys are out there just kind of what you're interested in terms of other people's setups. Are you asking about other people's setups? We do have a setup channel on our Discord server. So if you guys want to talk more about your setup versus other people's setup, or looking for advice on that, we do have our own channel within Discord talking nothing about that. We're talking only about that and nothing else. So I thought that was really cool. John, you haven't talked too much about your setup. You want to educate the users a little bit? Because John has got first off, he's having a problem right now that John's going to tell you all about. But John also is a serious home labber. Like, he's big into this hobby. John, I'm dying to hear you tell everybody a little bit about what you got going on.
So for my network gear, I just have the Dream Machine SE And so that just handles my incoming fiber connection from my ISP. And then I send that over to my 48 switch. And so I host a bunch of stuff. A lot of it is uh, smart home gear through my switch. And then the main server is my HL15. And that has 10 20 terabyte drives in it. I am going to be getting 5 more eventually to fill it out with the 15. And right now, I'm going to be honest with the case. I had to take out, there is a power distribution board in it to power the backplane for the drives.
Yeah.
I had to take that power distribution board out of the case, and then I had to replace the power harness. The power harness goes from the distribution board under the backplane, and so I have to unscrew like 30 screws for the backplane. I have to take out the backplane. I have to take out, there's a top bracket and all the fans and the drive cage to get to the backplane and give myself enough room to unscrew to take out the power harness. With that, I then have to snip a whole bunch of like carefully placed zip ties. So basically, long story short, I'm not happy with the room that you get with this HL15. It's only a year warranty. And so I got it last October. So with the power distribution board just randomly going out for no reason, I could have just had to have paid for that. And it's just not standard for a case. I think I spent $1,000 on this USD. And that's kind of crazy that I spent $1,000. I'm only getting a year warranty. And they can do everything for you. They can put everything together for you, but they talk about how this case, you can take it apart, you can do whatever you want to, you can modify it yourself, but it's kind of awful to build in. There's not a lot of room. I have to, when I'm trying to pull the drives out, my fingers hit the wall. So like after I pull out 10 drives, my side of my knuckles are just raw. Of like the tips of my fingers. So I gave them a huge list of feedback after confirming that reinstalling the power harness and the new mid plane for the power distribution worked. They said that they're going to take that in consideration. They just released the HL15 2.0.
Yeah, they did.
If you want a great case, if you really want this and you can spend the money, go ahead and get it. But I personally would recommend something else. If you're not going to be racking this, there's the Fractal XL2.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Fractal Design 7 XL2. I would recommend that over this. It's cheaper. It holds more drives. It's easier to build in. And so that's personally what my issues are right now. And yeah, that's just my little setup that I got going on here.
Yeah. Those pieces of equipment are really special. So you can see it's the Fractal defines. The Fractal is like for the home lab, or if you're going to use a desktop case, the Fractals are very, very common out there. So I don't use this. I'm going to talk a little bit about my setup real fast because it's not as complicated. And I actually just finished 4500L, I think. I'm going to see if I can find an image here real fast because it looks something like this. So mine has the removable fronts. I gotta figure if I can find a picture, but basically this is my case. And like instead of these fans, I have, these are 5 1/4 inch bays. I have 12 hot swap, like with the little removable trays for the drives here. So it's a little on the deep side. Obviously, it's pretty big, but I can get 12 drives in the front of the hot swappable cages. So like, unlike John, I'm not breaking my knuckles trying to pull them out of the front of the HL15. These come in these little sleds, and it's not the 4500L. It's like it's like the next one up. But basically, because I have those hot swap drives, it's pretty easy. So this is the cage that basically is built in. So I have 3 of these, and these little things that'll pop here and slide out, and they slide right into the front of this case. So it makes it pretty clean, and it makes my life a lot easier when it comes to doing the drives. I just got 410s, so I've got about 40 terabytes right now that I'm getting ready to integrate into my home lab to figure out what I want to do with it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, but I used a pretty basic motherboard because John, the other thing that John didn't tell you about, obviously, is having some motherboard problems now as well. So it becomes an issue like this when troubleshooting your home lab. And if you're in the chat, I want to know about some of the horror stories you've had about troubleshooting a home lab, like random things. Like John, talk about the random disconnects you were telling me about that you're dealing with right now.
So right now I have an Asus ProArt X870E Creator Wi-Fi motherboard. And that is the top of the line Asus board for the X870 chipset. And currently, I don't know if it was a bad batch, but the 10 gig NIC isn't working. And I've replaced the board twice now. I went to Micro Center and I did an exchange for it. And it's just not working. And the 2.5 gig NIC just randomly disconnects. It's a common known thing for the community, apparently, that this 2.5 gig NIC that's in there just disconnects randomly. So I have to reset my TrueNAS server manually. So after this stream, I'm actually going to take my server offline, gonna head back to Micro Center, gonna go get a different motherboard. I'm done with the ProArt board. I'm tired of it. Not wasting my time. And then I'm gonna get I was getting the ProArt for 10 gig. So I'm just gonna get an add-in card. I was really not wanting to take up another PCIe slot because I have the graphics card, I have my HBA, and then I was wanting to leave another slot open if I could, but in this case, I don't think I can.
I hate it when
what were the chipsets?
I'm looking for that.
They're not Intel. Let me take a look at what it was.
Yeah, I'm pulling the tech specs now. I just want to see whether or not that's the regular chipset. Where is the... Here it is. So whoever asked that question, I'm just going to copy and paste this into the LAN thing here.
Yeah. So for the 2.5, it's Intel. So it's Intel drive chipsets for Ethernet connections are really good.
Yeah.
I don't understand what's happening, and the fact that it's happening with the same board. I'm just assuming there's a bad batch that my Micro Center just got, but I'm done with it. I'm not. My Micro Center is an hour drive there, an hour drive back, so I'm not really wanting to play around with it. I'm wanting to just get something, and it's going to be cheaper because this board is like $520. So I'm just going to get a cheaper board that does what I need it to, and then just throw that in and just throw in a 10 gig NIC.
Yeah, I was telling John, that's pretty much exactly what I do. So in my home setup, I actually got really lucky. I got a board off of Newegg that's like a $300 or $400 because I'm on Intel right now. It's like a $300 or $400 board, and the reason I got it was just like John's board. It has the built-in 10 gigabit NIC, and I use 10 gigabit over Ethernet, so it's 10 gig base T, and I love that. I think that's great. If you're not using 10 gig base T, I strongly recommend it because especially if you have more than one server and you're moving data from server to server, or you have like a desk, like in my case, my desktop uses a lot of NFS mounts from my server, and I want to be able to move things pretty quickly. It's a dream come true to have that 10 gig backbone in my house. It wasn't super expensive to do, and it uses the existing Ethernet cabling. So it's very, very simple in terms of making the jump from gigabit to 10 gig as long as you're going over Ethernet. So what I did, of course, I went and got a board that has that built-in 10 gigabit LAN chipset. And it's great, and that's the reason I got the board. I got the board for less than $100, even though it's like a $350 board because it's got the built-in 10 gig NIC, and I don't want to worry about compatibility. But for a lot of other things, like for my regular desktop, I use like a $150 Asus board that I got off eBay, I think, for again the same Intel chipset, and I buy like the Intel X510 10 gigabit LAN cards, and those are great because they have it's basically a dual port 10 gigabit base T NIC, and because it has that, it's like a $25 card used off eBay. It's amazing. So like it's super easy to do. It's basically $25 per card per machine that I add them to, and I absolutely love it. It makes my setup pretty strong. Yeah. So I see somebody talking about the fact that most people recommend SFP Plus. SFP Plus, let me tell you about that. I love the idea of going fiber, especially inside the rack, but like my desktop is all the way in the top floor of my house and my rack is in my basement. So to run any kind of fiber that far is going to be really, that becomes cost prohibitive, and you have to be really good at that kind of thing. So I'm not good enough to do that and run that fiber through the wall, through the attic. Doing that with an Ethernet cable was an easy joke, but fiber I'd be hesitant to do that with. So that's just my own personal skill set. So it made it really easy to stick with just Cat 6 cable because that's cheap and it's easy to work with. I can cut it myself, all that kind of stuff. So I liked it. I liked it. Let's get back to the news. Software updates. So there's a bunch of updates this week, and one of the ones that jumped off to me, and again, I always check the software updates page because sometimes there'll be something in here that really scares me. And I saw this down here. I saw the image one. I was like, oh my God, there's an update to image. That's great. Version 136. And it looks good. Updates to media paths, beta mobile, improved features like timeline sync and uploads, Android widgets, deep links. So I go and click on this, right? This is the first thing you see. Breaking changes, caution, huge red thing right here. I'm like, this is always what terrifies me. Like with some app that I have that I rely on heavily now, like Image, super famous app. First thing you see in version 136, huge thing that says breaking changes. I was holding my breath. I was like, please God, don't let this affect the way I'm deploying it. So let's jump into this so you guys understand too, because I'm sure plenty of people out there are also running Image. This is the environment variable they're focused on, image_media_location. If you go to the servers at home wiki, we are not using this, and the TrueNAS version of it doesn't use it as far as I know. So this doesn't affect the community catalog, and it doesn't affect if you use the servers at home. Let me just go over there. I'll show you guys real fast. The servers at home wiki one. I'll show you the wiki Docker Compose that we have, and you'll see it's not there. So yeah, I believe it is productivity. No, it's got to be media management. It's got to be all the way at the bottom. Here it is, image. So we jump over to our Docker Compose file here. They're looking for an environment variable called, again, image media location. You'll see here for the environment variables on the regular image server, we in fact don't have any environment variables here. It's just volumes it depends on. In fact, I don't even think, the only thing that has environment is the database here. So we're totally cool, and even the environment variables here don't include any of that. So we're free and clear if you deploy this either through Docker and, as far as I know, through TrueNAS for image. But if you didn't, if you're using this environment variable, when this thing updates, your image is just not going to work. It's going to be broken. So there's instructions here about how to actually go ahead and mitigate that, what to take out and what to put in. But let's jump to the important thing, which is, of course, the update. Well, that's the important thing, too. I'm not saying it's not important, but the update is what they did. So they updated something, and this is one of the things that is affected. This is the fancy thing that they actually did. So there's the beta mode for new timeline. There's new widgets for Android, which is pretty cool because I'm an Android guy. There's iOS widget improvements if you're an iPhone guy. The new timeline is kind of the thing they're pushing right now. It's called the beta timeline. So if you're in image, you're going to see this little switch here that you get the opportunity to turn on if you want to use the new timeline feature that they're using. It's basically because of major complaints they've received. So they're updating the app based on user feedback, which is always something I like to see. I always like to see, again, John just talked about this, where he gave home HL15, which is 45 drives, a ton of feedback about the HL15 chassis because he's using it and he's having problems. And every single time he has to fix a problem, like there's this huge thing that he has to go through. It's not fun. I've been on the phone with John quite a bit recently about this, and it's just very challenging to work with some of that. So giving feedback and having people actually respond to feedback is super powerful, and I love the fact that the companies are out there doing that. Image is doing that now, which is just absolutely wonderful. They took a bunch of feedback about things and they're making changes. So my hat is off to them. John, you're using Image right now, aren't you? Aren't you using this for photo management?
I am not. I want to get it set up right now, but I want to do a different data set for it. So I'm going to be doing that eventually. I also want to get more storage first before I start doing all that, and I also want to make sure everything's stable. I want to get everything stable for at least a month or so before I start doing that.
Yeah, I totally get that. One of the things they talked about here is just a big deal to me. It's just the way the data sync works. So basically, if you have image, and like John is going to get into image, you have to know that all the photos have to be uploaded into image. So doing that sometimes takes a bunch of time. So it's going to be a really big deal because again, as you continue to take pictures, like for example, my wife, like I know this about women. I'm a guy, so I don't take a ton of. Let me ask you about it, John. John, how many pictures do you take on your phone? Like maybe a day or a week?
I don't take many because I don't do a lot of exciting things outside. But when I do go outside, I take a decent amount of pictures.
Yeah, my wife takes. My wife doesn't have to leave the house to take pictures, so she probably takes 50 pictures of the cats every single day. So even without going outside, we still get a lot of pictures. That's become something that's a big deal because if you're on image, every picture you take is automatically synced to the cloud in the image cloud and wherever you're hosting image. So your data sync is a big deal. So obviously, them doing this here is going to affect a lot of people because these 4 bullet points basically just say we made it a lot faster and we did it a lot in a lot more intelligent way. Before, if you were on image and you had a lot of uploads going on, maybe you haven't opened image in a couple days and you've taken a bunch of pictures since then, the upload would slow the app down. They've completely changed the way that works. The timeline display, which is the main part of image, is how you actually scroll through your photos, been rewritten from the ground up. So like this is actually a pretty big update. I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited that they took a lot of the feedback from the community to make things better. So if you're using image out there, I want to know. Chances are you probably are. Image is like the second largest video we've ever done on this channel. So it's a very, very common app. So seeing this kind of change go through is really, really exciting. Everything else on this didn't really jump off the page at me. Oh, there's the other one here. So there's a couple other here that I was talking to John about before we started. So the first one is NZB360. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but if you do any kind of mobile management of your media suite, this is what that's for. It manages SODAR and Radar and all the other R apps that do the media suite stuff. So I'm going to just blow through some stuff here. This is just some pictures on Google Play of what it looks like. It's really, really pretty. It is paid, completely worth the money in my book. I actually have this app on my phone. I think it's amazing. I think it's really, really great. This just received a big update. So if you're talking about mobile management for any of your media management software, NZB360 is pretty amazing. You see it does all the basic stuff here. I think these are just 3 of the highlights. It does way more than this. So go ahead and jump on and take a look at that if you want to take a deeper dive into managing your mobile, managing your media software. So 4.77 thousand reviews out of 4.6. It's a pretty good piece of software. The other one that got updated was ROM. We did a video on ROM back in the day in terms of people who like to game and who like to do gaming archiving and stuff like that. So ROM's pretty amazing. They just pushed a pretty big update. Let's take a look at their code releases 5 days ago. 4.0. So this is just released in the last 5 days. 4.0.0 hash, and this is what they're doing, the hash-based metadata matching. They partnered with 2 friends and members of the community to bring you a new feature to match your ROMs against databases, and they name the databases here. Free and public APIs. This is basically just a really good way to make sure you're syncing up with the right software, whatever you're looking for. There's a bunch of stuff in here. The Launchbox metadata here, the Stream Grid DB. There's a bunch of stuff here. John, now you're actually using this. You use ROM a bunch, don't you, John?
Yeah, me and Audio Joe share one.
Yeah, I know we were talking a lot about gaming last time we were on this, and I'm so out of touch, man. I'm such an old man because I don't game almost at all anymore. So tell me what do you think about that? Like, how do you feel about ROM? It's just a software. What do you like about it?
It's a good piece of software. It's good for storing all your ROMs in one location. You can play them on it. So if you're on your phone or on a tablet or on just your laptop and you want to quickly play a little game that you have saved on there, it's nice for that. Even if you don't want to play them, it's just a nice place to host it. So then you can download them. Let's say you're testing out a bunch of emulation devices, and it's just a good way for you to kind of download them so that you're not needing to remember where you're putting them. It's a good interface.
I remember we did the video. I was really impressed with it because I'd never heard of ROM before this. And then when we did the video for Service at Home on YouTube, it was pretty. Actually, I think that was a Patreon video. That might have been YouTube, but either way, it was really cool. It was a really amazing like piece of software. Once I started digging into it, and that's one of the things I like about this community. Is like I'm not exposed to stuff like this, but John will be like, "Hey, I do this and it's awesome. Let's do a video on it." And then we'll do a video on it. And I'm like, "Hey, it's actually pretty awesome. Like I probably should have gotten into this way earlier." So I kind of like the exposure I get from a lot of other members of the community on apps like this. And they just released their 4.0.0. Big deal for them. So if you're on ROM, make sure to update. It's pretty incredible. Let's jump into new software. I was amazed that this took so long to kind of get here. There's a bunch of stuff on here, obviously. Again, we talked about digital photo frames before. I wasn't super moved by that. Let's take a look at this. I haven't actually clicked this yet. Ephemeral file sharing system. We talked a lot about file sharing last time because I talked about the fact that if you want to send somebody a file that obviously you can't email it to them, how do you go about doing it? This is interesting. So they're using a Tailscale account in order to send this out. This is complicated. I was curious to see if this was like a better way, because there's a lot of different ways we've been talking about doing file sharing and doing file hosting. We looked at Phylum, I think, a couple weeks ago. And that was one of those things where it looks a lot like Google Drive and it works pretty well, but I'm still searching for something that's maybe better than Nextcloud. It's hard to find something that beats that.
There's someone that was recommending, what was it?
That C file?
I actually added it. Yeah, I added it to the list. It looked pretty interesting. I looked at just the website itself. So we can definitely take a look at that. It was on, yep, right there.
Yeah,
From this homepage, it looks like it has an interesting UI that's just a Google Drive replacement, not an everything application.
Which I kind of like. Like I said, I'm not opposed to that. That's not going to knock it off the list, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that's better. Having a focus, being good on that focus.
Yeah, especially they have built-in collaborative documentation as well. So now they're not only hosting stuff like this, but they have the built-in collab, which is. Did you see? By the way, did you see that Collabra reached out to us on YouTube? Did you see that comment they left us?
I did not.
Dude, Collabra, the actual people who made Collabra commented on the Nextcloud and Collabra video we just did like a week or two ago, whenever that was, and they pretty much said like, "Hey, thanks for uploading this." And I thought that was really cool. I love it when the companies that actually build the software see that we've uploaded a video and just kind of give us a quick shout out and say thank you. That's like, that's incredible to me. But we got a shout out from Collabra. I was like, yay, Servers at Home, we're doing good. This looks cool though. We should definitely, yeah, I definitely want to review this. We should definitely do a video on this. Okay.
Have you seen Checkle before?
No. What is that?
Scroll up. It's in the updates. It looks like it's like a kind of like an uptime replacement, like an uptime Kuma replacement. It looks. I checked out the demo. It looks pretty interesting.
This does
Thinking
look
about
interesting.
adding it.
Yeah.
And they got the username and password there on the GitHub.
This is admin.
No, it was here.
Example.com. It was like what, password 12344 something?
Sure. Yeah, it was admin 123456.
That's what. I'm just gonna copy and paste it. Yep. Let's take a look. Oh, it's definitely pretty. I love the layout. John, you're a big UI guy. Tell me what are your first impressions on this?
Oh my lord, this thing's beautiful. It is pretty. I'd marry it.
John's already married, but it's okay. This is interesting. I wonder what they're doing to actually, like, the big problem. I'm looking for a new instance monitor, and I have to find, like, I'm wondering what's the endpoint look like. Let me see, add server agent. Oh wow. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Uptime Kuma's already pretty, but this takes that to another level.
Yeah, so this is interesting because the big thing I'm looking for is the Windows aspect of it, right? So like, how do I get Windows? This is it. Come here. I'm here.
I don't know. Windows is a big Windows guy.
Weird. Okay, because like yeah, because in work I have to monitor a lot of Windows things, and that's the problem. Because I'm on Linux 24/7. Every time I have to monitor a Windows instance, I cry a little bit inside. But this is really good. This is very pretty. This is way prettier than what I'm using right now. I'm using Core Control, which is good, and it was on this great path in terms of everything it was doing, and then all of a sudden the guy just like pretty much stopped developing it. I'm like, oh my god, I've already invested so much time in this, and now I have to like get out. Page. This is John. We're adding this to the list. Like we're gonna do a full video on this, I think, because this is really great. Reporting, really? Come out of here. I'm stuck. I got stuck. There we go. Yeah, this is really cool. I like this a lot.
Yeah, I went ahead and added it to the list.
Okay, we'll come back to that. that was really good. And that was just an update too. I haven't even heard of this. Never mind the fact they're updating. They're already on version 1.4. How many releases have they had? So anytime I evaluate something, guys, by the way, this is a good way to look at it. I look at the releases. Like how many releases have there been? So this is 3 days ago, June 20th. Like this shows me active development 1.2. So there's been a bunch of release versions on here. So they've already been integrating quite a bit. So that's good. That gives me confidence in the project to see how they're doing and how much time they spend per release and things like that. Come back down, ROM or new software. New software. Interesting. I'm always a big notifications guy. And I love notifications. That's what makes my server. When my servers talk to me, it makes me really happy. In the beginning, when I first started home labbing, and this is again for you guys, if you're home labbing and you don't have any kind of monitoring going on with any kind of notification, like the very first basic thing you should set up is an Uptime Kuma with a notification channel. This way, if something goes down, you get notified. But really, like, there's so much more to notifications. Like all of my R stack has notifications in it. Almost every single app I have has notifications turned on going through Godify so that I can be told about anything that I need to be told about. Anything else I use like N8N for, which I'm getting better at. As John will tell you, we just shot the video for N8N. It takes a little bit of breaking in, but it's pretty cool. But anytime someone's inventing like new messaging software, like Discord bots and stuff, like I'm always interested in that. John, how are you doing your notifications right now?
I am not.
John relies on this very ancient way of figuring out when a server's down. Somebody that uses a server will call him and say, hey, the server's down. This is a real thing. This is a real thing.
It works.
It does not work. That's not a real system.
It works. It's got a good response time.
And it works even when the internet goes out. Look at that. Yeah, no, so I run a Godify and an Uptime Kuma instance in the cloud. Again, I know I talked about the cloud before and how much I do stuff on-prem. The one thing I can't do on-prem is my Uptime Kuma. But if you don't understand what I mean, let me tell you, it doesn't make any sense to run your Uptime Kuma on your TrueNAS to tell you when your TrueNAS machine goes down, because if it goes down, it takes the Uptime Kuma with it, and then it can't talk to you. So you have to run Uptime Kuma from somewhere outside of your infrastructure so that it can look into your infrastructure and make sure everything's up and running. Just like Godify, in this case, your messaging app. Like, I use Godify for messaging. Some people like to use Discord, and that's easy because that's cloud hosted, obviously. Discord's owned, but I self-host my own version of Godify, which is what sends the messages to my phone, which also has to be outside of my infrastructure, because if I host Godify on my TrueNAS machine, and then my Uptime Kuma is outside my infrastructure, and it says, oh, this went down, send a notification, but the notification service is the thing that went down, I'm never going to know about it. So there's a couple things I have to host outside my home lab because I do it that way, but nothing makes me happier than notifications. It's the geekiest thing about me.
That's what friends are for.
I don't have any of those, John. I'm a geek. You just heard me talk about this. Suggester. I'm amazed this took so long to get out here. We did a video on this on the Patreon channel before. AI-powered movie recommendation system with Plex and Jellyfin integration, which is really cool. If you haven't watched the Patreon video on this, again, this took a while. This has been out for a while. I'm kind of surprised he's got this listed under new software. Ethan has this under new software because it is new, but it's also not that new. But it's pretty amazing. AI is built into it, so you can use a bunch of different AIs here. It integrates with a complete media stack, and once you have it, I'll have to make sure this is the one I'm thinking about. Make sure.
Yeah, because then there's Huntar.
Yeah, well, yeah, the suggester and requester are both out there. So if this is the one I'm thinking about, yeah. So this looks at your current library. So this hooks in with, say you're using Plex, for example. if you're using Plex, this system talks to your Plex. There's a Plex like your Plex token URL gets put in here, right? So it can see your Plex library. So what it's going to do then is it's going to look at your Plex, what you're watching on Plex, and it's going to use like your Overseer or Jellyseer and actually push recommendations directly into your request management system, and based on what you're watching. So if it notices, like me, I'm a huge sci-fi guy. I talked about this before. I talk about this a lot because I'm such a nerd about it. I love sci-fi. So if I'm watching like the Aliens, like a lot of Aliens movies, and like the new Alien series, Alien Earth is about to come out, like Requester would see that. A suggester, Suggester would see that and be like, oh, you watch a lot of stuff that's sci-fi. Oh, and you like the Alien series? Like, there's a new Alien TV show coming out. Let me add that to your let me automatically push that to your Jellyseer so you can decide whether or not you want to download it, or you can decide whether or not you want to allow that to happen or reject it. So it's possible to go out and do that, and it's all AI powered, which is really interesting. Again, we've done the video on this. John, let me ask you, John, how do you get your recommendations for stuff? Like, how do you know what you want to watch?
There is an iOS application. It might be on Android as well. I would assume so. It's called Lunacy.
Oh, I know Lunacy. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they have a recommendation system on there. And then also Radar has a recommendation system built in. I don't know about Sonar.
Do you see this?
So, what up?
How long has this been shut down?
Oh.
Look at this. When was this? April 30th, this has just happened. I was getting ready to show the viewers this. I've heard of Lunacy. It's a great. That's the other thing that's out there for the iOS people. Like I use NCB360, but Lunacy is what exists for Apple people. But apparently it doesn't. John, what's your take on this?
It works for me still. That's all I care about. You guys don't need the greatness that I have on my phone. Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, no idea about that. That's fascinating. Anyway, I cut you off. Continue. Tell me about how you use it.
No, that's it. And then Radar has suggestions. I don't think Sonar does yet. I'd imagine sometime soon they'll be doing suggestions. If Radar does, I don't understand why Sonar doesn't.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. Yeah, that is interesting. But yeah, so this is out there. So there's a couple. If we go back, let me go back to the wiki, for example, because we have a whole section on the wiki. If you go to the media management section here, I think it's called suggestions, media directory, media discovery. So we have a media discovery section, and every single one of these apps is some way of getting media to you. So whether it be the actual things like Jellyseer, Overseer, or Ombi, which we just did a video on as well, which are just front ends for requests and some recommendations in there. There's also the automated ones. So recommenders on here, suggesters already on here. Pulsar is pretty cool. That was what I think we should review that one last time for all the Plex guys out there. Hunter to do your media replacement. There's a lot of media discovery tools that plug into the core components of the media suite. So this is a pretty cool little section. If you haven't seen this section yet of the wiki, it's under the media management. You can find it on the right under media discovery down here. I like it a lot. So some of these I use myself. Recommender and suggester are also very similar. The one for suggester that we made. And it's pretty straightforward. And here's the video down here, and it's a Patreon video. I gotta put the little logo here. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I like it. I like it a lot. I'm out of here. I didn't even see this before. That's cool. All right. John, is there anything else that kind of jumped out at you? We should probably hit some other news too while we're here, but I was looking at this and I'm just like, another Kanban. It's just, I think we tried this one too. This is pretty though. Too basic for you, John. I know we need way more fancy stuff than this.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Did you look at Next?
Next? What is Next? What are you talking about?
It's a new application. I got added. Scroll up a little bit. Next. NEXXT or NEXTT. Scroll up.
There it is. Look at you Plex powered recommendation dashboard. We just did Pulsar before. Okay, self-hosted multi-provider recommendation dashboard with movie database enrichment and overseer integration. Smart personalized way to find to watch next sports plus Plex. Oh, and also supports Jellyfin. All right, you got my attention. Let's see it. This is pretty interesting. And you can do the requesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's definitely just like overseer, jelly seer, stuff like that, but it could still be something to look at.
Yeah, you definitely. So I just did a video. The last video we did for the Patreon stream, the Patreon channel was for Ombi. Ombi is also a clone of this and Jelly Seer and Overseer. They all do the same thing. It's basically a dashboard that gives you recommendation. This is cool though because it's because you love like Karate Kid. Like this has got some kind of recommendation engine built into it. Whereas like Jelly Seer, for example, which is what I use. It doesn't actually make recommendations at all. It just, I mean, on what I'm watching, it does like uses tracked and like what's popular right now. So it can show me popularity based on like the entire, population, but like it's not personalized to me. So I think this is interesting because it seems to have some kind of personalized way based on what you have. This is personalized content recommendation. That's what's interesting to me because there's so many things out there. For example, Jelly Seer, Overseer, and Ombi don't have personalized content recommendations, as far as I know. Jelly Seer definitely doesn't, because I use it every day. But this does. Like, Recommender and Suggester both are personalized content recommendations, recommendation engines. So this is interesting. This has that. Like, here's the core use case. I gave that show 5 stars. What else would I like based on that vibe? That's really cool. I wonder how it does that based on your ratings or watch history. This is interesting. We should definitely look into this.
Yeah, put it on.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a great catch. And it's not, I said, from a UI point of view, it looks pretty straightforward. Oh, look at how good they've already, see, they did all the work for me. Look, there's already got all the instructions here, which are going to be straight copied and pasted directly into the wiki. This is really great. Yeah, the Overseer guide here. Look at all this. This looks like something that we're going to have very similar to on the wiki very shortly. This is really great. This is a great pick.
Oh, we're out of a job.
Yeah.
You didn't see YouTube TLDR? Go to new.
Yeah, hold on. I did see that actually.
We're out of a job.
Yep. Look at that. I wonder if you have to have a Gemini key to make this work. They're definitely not doing that for free.
I'm assuming. Yeah, they are. It uses an API key.
Yep. Fascinating. Yeah. See, it actually has a free tier with generous limits, though. Check that out. I didn't know that the Gemini API had a free tier. I'd be curious about this. So let me see how this. Now I have to see how this works. Okay. Now I'm interested. All right. So it's basically so how does it get the video? Okay. Transcript summary.
I'm assuming you feed it the link.
You must. And they even have a link to a different project that one is like YouTube Summarizers is not the only thing that does this. Shit, this is even multiple language. And you can do this with Grok or GPT-4o. This is interesting. This is my model. GPT-4o Mini is the one that I use the most, probably. Multiple API keys, multilingual. Yeah, so this one, you just feed the link. Here's this generating summary. Check that out. Bigger. I need to see this. This is fast. So YouTube Summarizer exists, and this one is, let me see if I can get some better, pictures here. All right, so you feed it the link. Interesting. This looks a little more involved. Yeah, so this is pretty fascinating. I might actually play with this today. After we get done with the show, this will be like the first thing that like I probably go and jump on because I am really, really curious.
I'd be curious to see how well it does at summarizing.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it to one of our videos. Like, obviously, that's the one. Those are the ones I know best. So I might summarize like the last video I did and see what it comes out with. And I definitely want to. I definitely want to go ahead and probably. Interesting. Yeah, I'd be curious. I'd be really curious. So we're gonna see. I'm gonna look in. I'm gonna look into this. I definitely want to. I want to at least at bare minimum a Gemini API key, and then maybe start playing with it to see how far I can push it before it's like you've run out of tokens. That's John. This is why John's here. Great catch. Great catch. And they also have a full-on page. No, is this actually gonna work?
There's no way.
That's a whole. I'm like, wait, hold on. All right, we have to get it. John, just go out there and find a YouTube video real fast. I want to try. Let's find one that like pretty well, because there's no way this is gonna work.
Let's do one of ours. One second. Here, let's do the latest TrueNAS news video we just did.
Okay. Here.
There you go.
Let me see if I can get this link. All right, so that makes sense.
So if you refresh the page.
Yeah.
And then advanced settings. So you need to provide your.
But they're basically hosting it for you. That's interesting. So I don't even need to host this. I can just jump. I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to give my Gemini API key out to this thing. But like, if you just wanted to test it without even starting up the Docker container, and they even write the prompt for you, an expert video summarizer specializing in created structure. It's a good prompt. Prompt engineering here is good. Fun. Prioritize fidelity to the original content. Organize it. This is good. Let's just show the test data, for example. Oh, that's dumb. Whatever. Yeah. I'm gonna set this up and do a Gemini key and see if I can play with it. This is gonna be really interesting. This is gonna be really interesting. What else should we cover today, John? I think that was a lot of the self-hosted. This is good. That was a great catch.
Yeah. It looks like for the latest T3 is out for you guys to go watch. If you're not subscribed to the TrueNAS Tech Talk T3 YouTube channel, please go do that. We cover them every Monday. So if you don't want to watch the whole channel, whole video, you can do that.
I thought they were taking off this week. I thought I remember them saying that they're not.
No, that was last week.
I haven't even watched. See, I'm behind now because I haven't even watched the new video for this week.
Yep. Well, it just came out while we've been live.
Oh, that's it. That's 30 minutes ago. So that's the other thing we're gonna do when I get off this call. I have a lot of work to do today, and I have this thing to go to tonight. And I was at this thing this morning. That's why. So the reason we pushed back today was because I had something going on this morning with my wife, so we had to be out, and we just got back at about 2:00. So I had a quick 30 or 45 minutes to kind of prep for this and talk to John about some things, and then we went live. So I've been rushing around today, but I definitely want to go ahead and. Because this is important. I can already see the LXC clarifications. That's immediately something I need to hear about because that's a question we've been getting a lot and covering a lot. But we're going to cover that on Monday. So if you guys are not familiar with this, like John just said, we're going to have the recap video every single Monday. I release a recap video talking about what Chris and Chris are talking about. So this is a 40-minute video. My recap video will probably be between 10 and 15 minutes. So it's a little bit more of a truncated way to get the news, but again, it's always best to get it from the source. The best thing you can do is go ahead and just watch their video and subscribe to their channel. It's a really great channel. They've only got about a little under 3,000 subscribers. It should be way more than that. This is a very important resource for everybody that's on TrueNAS. So definitely go out and watch their video and subscribe to them. If you're not subscribed to us, you should be subscribed to us and watch the recap video on Monday. I'm going to go ahead and cover all that. John already put the link in the video, in the chat for the video. But John, I'm pretty good for today. You have anything else we really think we should cover?
For the 9 video, that took us longer than we thought. I don't know if you guys noticed, but we didn't upload Monday because that's normally the slot for the news. And then we uploaded late Wednesday. There was just a lot going on. We were planning for the N8 video to be out then.
N8N?
But then we pushed it back, released a Kanban video. And today, since we had to push the stream back, we're not going to be releasing a video today. So you guys can expect that N8N video Wednesday. And I will do another poll on our Discord for tomorrow to see what you guys want the next video to be. That'll probably be posted Friday then, and Monday will be the typical news video still.
Yeah, the N8N was challenging. That's me really, because the N8N one was, I was struggling with the idea of the automation, not because automation is hard, because N8N is difficult. It's a really cool program. I like it a lot. I started building a lot more workflows. The challenge I had was finding the automation that I wanted to demonstrate. There have been a bunch of N8N videos lately on YouTube. I watched the Network Chuck one, and that was really good. I'm going to show you guys a couple of them. But there's so many out here on N8N, because the N8N has got like this infinite, this is the video I watched. It's got an infinite amount of automations you can do. So it's like, which do you choose? So I was struggling to pick an automation, and then I found an automation that I liked that was actually kind of difficult to set up. So I will tell you that that video took me a while, and it took a lot of editing on my part, and John's still got to take his pass at it. We're in post-production right now with it, so we're hoping to have it pretty soon, like John said, and we'll have the schedule going forward. But yeah, that was a little bit of a heavy lift. Like N8N, from me not using it to having to do a video on being an expert in, you know, at least some kind of workflow automation, was a heck of a learning curve. But yeah, it's a cool video, and I like the software a lot. I recommend, if you're not using it, you go ahead and jump into it, just because there's really interesting things you can do with it. I'll tell you, one of the automations I just made, for example, watches my Ollama container. So the one I do in the video is for Docker logs. The one I did for me personally, like this morning, was for my Docker logs for my Ollama container, because I have a very small video card, and I'm hosting on site. I'm self-hosting my Ollama AI. So every once in a while, I'll overload my Ollama, because it's such a small graphics card. It's only got 2 gigabytes of virtual RAM. So I want to know when I'm overloading my Ollama container, and I want to know via looking at the logs, like, for example, when is that happening, and what am I doing when it's happening? So I set up an N8N workflow to pretty much scrape the logs every 5 minutes, and if it sees that there's an overflow event where it overflows my GPU to my CPU, it sends me a go-to-file message. So that was like a cool workflow that I made. But that took, like, just to be able to do that and get the expertise I needed, it probably took like 8 hours or so of just like digging through that documentation. So it's long, all that to say, the N8N video is good. You guys are going to like it. It's coming out shortly, but that's the reason for the slowdown, was because the learning curve for it is a little steep for someone who's never, ever used it before. But now that I'm in it and I did the video for it, I'm so glad I did, because I'm like, I have 2 workflows that I know I'm going to use permanently going forward. And the one that I made for the video is actually a really cool idea, and I might continue to like work with it and make it even better, and then use it full time. So that's my piece about N8N. If you're using N8N, I kind of want to know what you're using it for. Like, what are you guys automating in your workflows? Because that's fascinating to me. There's so many different ways. Like, there's got to be like 400-500 nodes, maybe more than that. There's a lot of automation you can do, and because it's completely up to the user, like, they're so unique. Every single workflow is unique. So if you're using N8N, I would love to know how you're using it, what you're using it for, what does your workflow look like, what do you think about the software, et cetera, et cetera. But I want to stop talking about this now, because the video is coming out. We'll talk about that after the video comes out, and then we will kind of do some recap on the other show. But anyway, I've gone way off the rails talking about this now, because it's been on the forefront of my mind for days. That's all I got, John. I'm done. I'm going to stop talking now. Anybody sign off? Anybody last minutes, last comments in the chat, last sign offs, and we'll be done for the day, and we'll come back next week if we are done. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, thank you everybody for joining. If you guys aren't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Tell everybody we're here, man. We want to make this community the best it can be. We want to grow it. So we can only grow it unless you guys get out there and talk about it. So please like and subscribe, and tell other people in this space, the self-hosting, the home lab space, that we exist and we're doing this, and that we're really excited to have conversations with you guys and continue doing videos the community wants by doing polls. Make sure you're on the Discord, because that's where all the feedback comes in. That's where we do the polls for what videos you guys want to see. That's where we talk about a lot of the things that we're playing with on a daily basis. That's where I give feedback to the users that are asking me about some things that I've done and some videos that I've put up. So jump on our Discord, make sure you're on our YouTube channel, join the Patreon channel if you haven't. There's a lot of really cool videos there that I can't talk about here, but you can go and check that out for yourself. You can see which videos are up for free, and if you want to subscribe, you can go ahead and get all of them. There are over 30 right now, so I add to them every single week. Thank you guys for coming on. This has been a great show. I will see everybody next week. See you guys.
Everyone.